So as we continue through the month of April, there's no shortage of college football news for us to discuss. And today, we need to turn our attention to a top prospect in the class of 2024 who recently trimmed down his top list to feature his top 6 schools. A list that includes the Colorado Buffaloes, the Miami Hurricanes, UCF, Ole Miss, Miami, and Florida State. Today, we have got to break down the battle for Kylan Fox. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I've got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no, and given all the other schools are located in somewhat close proximity to each other, do you believe the Colorado Buffaloes can go in SEC country and land a big-time win? Can't wait to hear from you. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions do seem small, but they truly are massive to content creators such as myself, and both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And first and foremost, who is Kylan Fox? Well, Kylan Fox is a really intriguing prospect in the class of 2024, and I think at this point, it's no secret. I think this is a special class. I thought last year's class was special, and I think the class of 2024 has got a lot of intriguing talent in it. And Kylan Fox is certainly a part of that list. He is the number 129 prospect in all of high school football, regardless of position, the number 17 athlete, and the number 32 prospect in the state of Georgia, which just goes to prove how much talent is located in the state of Georgia. Let's take a look at this top 6 list, a top 6 list that, as I stated in the intro, includes Colorado, Miami, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, UCF, and FSU. And we're going to start with Colorado because, as I stated in the intro, they're the one team located in the pack and kind of away from the proximity of the other teams. But there's a lot that the Colorado Buffaloes have going for them. First and foremost, it's all of the excitement and hype around Boulder right now, and all of that is justified. Coach Prime came to Colorado, and he's completely changed the trajectory of that program, and I, for one, am very excited to see what continues happening. But in order for you to really change the program, you first have to be able to recruit elite talent, and Coach Prime is showing us right now that's something they're going to be able to do. Look, just a few years ago, Colorado was not even located in these top battles. And now, before Coach Prime has ever coached a game there, remember, this team is still a 1-11 team as the next season hasn't kicked off yet. They're in these lists for top prospects. That shows you that the prospects are interested. Furthermore, outside of the hype and excitement around Colorado, let's talk about this offensive staff, shall we? Brett Bartolone's the wide receiver coach. You have Tim Brewster, the tight ends coach. You have Sean Lewis, the offensive coordinator. Sean Lewis, former head coach of Kent State. Brett Bartolone, offensive coordinator with Coach Prime at Jackson State, now the wide receiver coach, as I stated, and longtime tight end coach Tim Brewster. So if you are an offensive piece, if you are a tight end and you look at the coaching staff right there, I can easily see you looking at that and saying, man, that's an intriguing coaching staff, one I'm interested in. The only thing I could see working against Colorado in the battle for Kylan Fox is that the Sean Lewis offense, whenever he was at Kent State, really didn't feature a tight end very much. If we look during the 2022 season, tight ends in a Sean Lewis offense had less than 10 touches. In 2021, that number was 13, and in 2020, the tight ends only had 2 touches. Now, personally, I've talked about this before. I do think Sean Lewis will use the tight end at a higher degree at Colorado because I think they have some intriguing tight end pieces that are going to be mismatches, and it will almost be mandatory that they use those mismatches. No secret that I love one of the tight ends Colorado has. But what about the Miami Hurricanes, a team that has been recruiting really well since Mario Cristobal got there? And in fact, they got a big-time tight end win just a few cycles ago for Skinner, a very talented tight end out the state of Florida. And for Miami, if you can go and get a tight end such as Kylan Fox, you'd be over the moon. I think that right now for Miami, the name of the game is just trying to turn the program around in every sense of the word. And one of the easiest ways to do that, or at least turn yourself in the right direction, is through recruiting. And so this is going to be very interesting to see how Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes continue trying to comprehensively recruit, especially in an offseason where they're losing some pieces on the coaching staff. How does that affect their ability to hit the trail? We know what Mario Cristobal does on the trail. I don't think that much is in question. He has been an elite recruiter, But for Miami, what is your class going to look like even outside if you land Kylan Fox? There's a lot of new in Miami, and I'm really excited to see it. I'm excited to see what their quarterback is able to do this year, especially after a disappointing season last season that personally I don't put a whole lot on him. I'm not saying he's absolved from blame, but the offensive system in Miami last year was hard to watch. You don't lose to Middle Tennessee State University with an offense that is exciting to watch, but I digress. How about Ole Miss making this list? And look, anytime Ole Miss is in a list for an offensive prospect, I don't think anybody in the nation should be surprised. We know what Lane Kiffin does offensively. He is one of the offensive gurus in college football. At the end of the year, Ole Miss may only have 8 wins, but those 8 wins were spectacular, and you had a grand time watching them move the ball up and down the field. If they ever get a defense, it's going to be really interesting to watch. Now, fortunately, Kylan Fox is an individual who is classified as an athlete. He also plays edge. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be a tight end, and that's not to say he's not a really solid edge rusher. He's an athlete for a reason. If they thought it was that simple he'd be a tight end, he'd be classified as a tight end, so he's obviously very gifted on the defensive side of the ball. I just seem to think that him at tight end is a mismatch. He's going to be able to block, he's going to be able to get out in space and really hurt a defense. I just think he's fit for that role. And if you are Ole Miss, you have an offensive guru back there who can utilize that. For Georgia Tech, Kylan Fox is from the state of Georgia, so it gives him that familiarity. And furthermore, if you have familiarity, it only increases your chances of being able to successfully recruit. One thing we have to understand when it comes to recruiting is that there are several compelling factors for these prospects, and one of those is relationships. Relationships mean so much in terms of recruiting. And if you have the proximity, if you have a prospect that is that close to your institution right in your backyard, you hope that you're able to establish solid relationships that can carry you through a recruiting battle such as this. But how about UCF? A team that I've made no secret I am really interested and excited for. Not long ago, I was on UCF's campus for an event and I had a great time. But one thing that's always intrigued me about UCF is that there seems like there's a lot of pressure there and it's waiting to pop. And if you're an Oklahoma fan who's found yourself on this video, you'll know I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a way that UCF always feels like they're right there, and I personally believe getting them into a Power 5 conference can help this institution as a whole. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but it is going to be something that's super fun to watch. So for UCF, just the fact that you're in this top 6, I think speaks volumes, but I think it also speaks that Kylan Fox has been able to establish really healthy relationships in the state of Florida. We look at this top 6, and 50% of the list is colleges in the state of Florida. I think that says something, and that points me to the very last college we've got to talk about, the team that may be in the best position to land the very talented tight end, and that's Florida State. A team coming off of a really exciting year, and a team that's kind of piqued the interest of college football fans everywhere, as Mike Norvell did a lot better last year than I think a lot of people anticipated. But it begs the question, what comes next for Florida State? Well, personally, I think if you're able to repeat the year you just had while cleaning some things up, where we go back, we watch it, and you say, okay, well, you had a great year, you were able to back up that great year and clean some things up, I think that'd be a great way to really announce, hey, we've broken through this little ceiling that we kept hitting our heads on, and now we can try and get back to business and being the Florida State of not that long ago. Now, there's going to be a lot of work to get to that point. One thing we talk about here on the channel all the time, it's one thing going from 6 to 8 wins. It's another thing entirely going from 8 to 11 wins. When you get in that range, the margin of error gets very, very slim, and it gets very difficult. But this top 6 is compelling. I think that when we look at this, I'm excited to see how this list gets trimmed outside of this. But every single institution on this list, I think, has something to offer, and I'm excited to see where Kylan Fox ends up playing his college football. But even more than that, I can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.